Hi there. My name is Dick Jungers. I'm the head girls basketball coach at Newell Fonda. Today I'm going to talk to you about our pressing system. I'm going to call it organized chaos because of the way our girls play and how we create disruption in other teams' offensive play. I'm going to highlight a few of the key things that we do. I'm going to also talk about the fundamentals that we teach, as well as show a few different clips to give you an idea of what it looks like from our vantage point. I'm going to start by giving just a little information about me for those of you that do not know me. I've coached head softball, and there's some stats there that gives you an idea that we've had a lot of success. I've also coached girls basketball at Newell Fonda for 18 seasons with tremendous success. One thing about Newell Fonda is we have a community that is very passionate about basketball. Our parents, our kids, our community, they just absolutely love their girls basketball. And because of that, we've just found a system that really fits the personality, the blue collar personality of our communities. And we put together some great runs over the years. So that's just wanted to share that with you. On this screen, I'm going to talk about some different things to think about. First of all, what purpose do you want with your press if you're going to go into this system? We really focus on disrupting offenses. I know a lot of teams when they press, they really emphasize the turnovers. If you can disrupt an offense, we do not have a shot clock in Iowa, but disruption creates a lot of advantages for the defense. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Risk versus reward, if you're giving up a lot of layups or easy looks, how you can tweak it and adjust it to create more disruption and maybe create some more panic shots. Or how to deal with teams that are so deliberate and they just really want to establish the pace. What are some things that you can do to create disruption for teams like that? And then I think the biggest thing is knowing and understanding what type of players you have. Right now, we have a lot of really good, strong, fast, athletic kids that have state track caliber speed. So our system is really suited for the type of players that we currently have. And then, after you watch your kids play, are you able to diagnose what they are strong at, and can you create situations that are advantageous to your team? Those are the things that we really do, and we spend a lot of time talking about, thinking about, and when we scout our own teams, we're looking at that information so that we can develop the best team possible with the personnel that we have. So with that being said, I'm going to talk about some of the drills that we use to incorporate our pressing systems. The first drill I would like to talk about is our one-on-one defensive on-the-ball work. We do things called with zigzag, which I think about every team out there does them. But we focus on 3 different techniques, and I'll show you little clips of each one of those techniques. The first one is going to be funneling the basketball, and the next one will be a turn technique, and then the third style that we teach our players is a contain technique. So let's get rolling with the first technique. As you noticed, the key there was trying to keep the ball out of the middle, so our players are constantly jumping the basketball, trying to keep them up the sidelines. Now, of course, when you see a very quick guard that has a way of getting in the middle, we change our techniques. If the guard can be funneled, we're going to try to do that as much because that sets up the next phase when we want to start doing some. There is try to turn the ball handler as many times as we can. We're going to cut them off the sideline, whereas in funnel, we will not cut them off from the sideline. We're going to let them go up the sideline as fast as they want. But in the turn technique, we want to cut them off and send them back to the middle. And then if they're going down the middle, we want to cut them off and set them up to the back to the sidelines. What this does is it creates blind spots on the floor where we can rotate when we're all seeing the same thing, and we could possibly bring a jump from behind or a trap. The key is how we control that ball handler up front. Again, this isn't a foolproof science. It takes extremely talented players to create effectiveness, and maybe this only disrupts it a couple times, but we'll take a quick look here. So she's getting out in front, cutting it off, and making that challenging. As you saw in the clip, we gave up a layup there, but when we put the team defense out there, we're trying to just disrupt an offense. She's speeding up her dribble to get around, and then we will bring other players as we set up these drills a little bit later in this broadcast. The next technique that I'd like to talk about is contain, and that's exactly what it sounds like. It's keeping your defender in front of the ball handler, slowing them down, keeping them in front. And a lot of teams are comfortable with this technique. It's something you already do. But again, when you're trying to disrupt, you want to change the pace of the game. Sometimes you definitely want to contain. Sometimes you want to turn them. Sometimes you want to funnel. And using those three different techniques, you can set up different defenses behind each one. So again, contain, just keep staying in front. Don't let them fly by you. Read what moves they like to do to get around players, whether it's a crossover dribble, a spin dribble, or whatnot. And, you can build your defense behind that. The next thing we're going to talk about is the 3-on-3 on the ball drill. We split the floor right down the middle of the court and vertically so that both sides have access to both baskets and players cannot go across that imaginary line at half court so that it keeps things safe. But it allows us to work with two groups of kids at the same time because we like to keep things very fast-paced like our gameplay. And with that happened with the assistant coaches and I, we're talking about certain situations that come up. We have our young kids working with our old kids so that they can help train. And then the basic techniques. So think about an inbounder after a made basket, throwing the ball to two players. If we put someone on the ball, we will a lot of times trap out of that formation, or we will change our jump rotations to come from behind. And with that technique, we try to create predictable situations. So for example, if the best ball handler is taking it out of bounds, then we might try to create a situation where somebody else has to bring it up the floor quickly, or if they want to go slow and try to get it to that inbounder, we're working on the common ways that teams will try to break that press. Sometimes it's sprinting that point guard right down the middle of the floor. So we're talking about how we want to cover those things. And based on how we press, depending on who's on the floor, we may change how we cover that. We might do a switch with that guard coming right down the floor with the other player that doesn't have the ball to try to minimize a quick give back. Or we might just deny it straight up. So it's teaching those options so the kids are ready for them on game. The other thing I want to bring up is we don't let kids throw over the top in this drill. We're just really focusing on keeping things in front of them. If we let them throw it out over the top, it becomes a layup drill real quickly, and then as a coach you get frustrated because you're not able to work on what you're really wanting to work on. But bottom line is, with that drill, you can cater it to however you want, and you can find out right away which kids read the rotations and how you want that covered. But generally, when you put someone on the ball, it becomes more difficult to create a jump situation when the gameplay is speed up or the trap situation. So then we'll talk about some of our other things we like to do with this, with our 3-on-3 off the ball. Now our other 3-on-3 drill is we'll call it a 21 deny drill, which means we're taking the player off the basketball and putting them over the top behind the defense. So you've got two players denying after a made basket type of situation, one player over the top. Now that one player over the top is responsible for any lob passes, or they're responsible for any quick jumps that might need to happen, because if they get it to the quick guard right away up the sideline, we're going to jump that. Now, the toughest teach on this is getting your players to rotate. A jump is not a trap, so we're going to switch defenders there, and that other defender, they have to communicate and read what's going on. So in a 3-on-3 situation, the rotation is very simple. When we keep everybody on that side of half court, they can't throw over the top, so they're throwing behind so then they can quickly find that. Another variation of that drill is we will put third player. The third player will put them on the other side of half court. So now it's basically, it looks like a 1-1 deny situation where they can throw over the top, and then we will bring in longer rotations on. So here's a visual that will kind of break down what I was just talking about. So in a 12 deny set, if you look at the top left diagram, we have the X on the ball, and the 2 denying, we call that 12 deny. If you go all out deny, obviously you're going to be speeding a team up because the open court is, there's no defenders there. So you can mix up that, and so throughout the course of a game, we will mix up our looks. And if you look at the bottom right, coming back the other way, we might be working on 12 behind. So if they throw it to that short corner, we will probably trap that, and then the other player reads the 2 defenders on which way the ball could go. So that's what we're looking at on that diagram. The other thing is they could get it in and start dribbling quickly up the side. Obviously, there's no jumper there because there's a player on the ball. But if we put a quick player there, we might be able to get a trap from behind. So based on your personnel, the sky's the limit there. So we mix in our personnel groupings, and what we do on defense may change because who's on the floor. So in this quick little picture there, we have 6 kids going at the same time, 3 on 3 on the left side of the floor, 3 on 3 on the right side of the floor, and we may be working with different looks or different combinations of players as we're teaching them the spacing and the speed of the game based on who's on the floor. In this clip, on the left side of the floor, we are working on 21 deny, which that would mean there's a jumper behind the ball. So if a player takes off and goes fast, we have a jumper in place, and we would rotate appropriately. So again, we're just working on our different looks up front. On the bottom one, bottom right, we're looking at 21 behind. That would be a contain type of formation where we're going to try to keep the ball and slow them down. If they go fast, we have a jumper in position. If they take people off, we just talk and communicate those interchanges. So that top X there could be switching with somebody, or they're guarding the inbounder. If the other team's best ball handler is taking the ball out of bounds, we'd probably change our look, or we could potentially switch with one of the 2 fronts. Now, as I mentioned before, it really depends on who's on the floor, what their skills and speed set is. We've been really blessed. We've had a lot of fast, athletic kids, so that gives us a lot more options and leniency to switch and rotate how we prefer. Here's a 12 behind in action. Notice the middle girl goes right down the middle of the floor, breaks the press, and gets that. So again, this is a very predictable situation. We had a mismatch there. We had someone that had extreme speed and good ball handling and court awareness against someone that just wasn't ready for it, and they broke our press down. So with that being said, you'd have to look at matchups. Okay, so that was a 12 behind trap. We're looking for a trap type situation. Inbounder went right down the middle. Obviously, you're not going to trap that. So it created a scramble situation on defense, and you have to train your kids for those situations because that's exactly what happens on game night. As you can see, we gave up a layup on that one, and they got the ball right down the middle of the floor. So what we do in that situation is probably look at the matchup and say, well, that's not favorable. We could switch someone quicker on it. Obviously, we don't want to give up the middle of the floor to someone that's just superior athletically. So again, just gave you a visual of what that could look like and what type of adjustments you have to think about on game night. Here's another 12 behind situation. They got out in front of us. Again, it's a different look. That bobbled pass, that player caught on the sideline there. What that did is allowed our defense to fill. So these are things we emphasize. Notice how we fell back in defense with good ball pressure. We'll look at it one more time. Okay, she breaks the press, finds the open player. Everybody's filling back and covering people up on that bobbled pass. Okay, so again, we disrupted, didn't force a turnover, but again, it made the offense have to work harder to set up an offense. In this next clip, you'll see the attempted trap, the breaking of the press, and people rotating and filling. So again, just a quick look here. Player rotated slow, rotated slow. Would have gave up a layup in a game situation because the trap wasn't set. Our player was trained to see where it was open. They had someone going down the middle and the deep side. And again, a very easy adjustment to make. Here's another quick clip. We're in 12 trap. Couldn't get the trap. but we were able to fill to get the steal. So again, we're speeding them up. They're trying to navigate. There's a long pass, and the fill got it because of one of our younger players made a poor decision in trying to finish the play there. But again, just wanted to show how the flow and the fill of the game works when we're building. Here we're going to switch up into a 21 deny, and this makes it look a lot different. And in the course of a game, when you switch up your fronts, a lot of times that creates a turnover. So with the 21 deny, you have two denying on close to the basketball. The player that usually is guarding the inbounder is now behind the set. And we'll take a couple looks at the same clip here to show you how that works on the practice end. Again, we're always adjusting lineups based on speed. Deflected pass, it was stolen because it was just a different look. Again, then we'll go right into transition. So she kind of got turned there and a poor pass, so we're going to take advantage of that. But again, we just switched on the fly and allow our speed to, I guess, dictate what the offense is trying to do there. And so, again, we're trying to speed them up, slow them down, mix in traps, mix in jumps, just to really disrupt the offense. And I'll show you some live game clips of us mixing it up so you can see what that looks like on the fly. And again, we switch our defenses based on personnel, based on disrupting offense, and to make things tough. The next drill we're going to talk about is spin the wagon drill. It's a defensive transition, an offensive transition drill, depending on what you want out of it. But I think the big key is we get 5-on-5 on one end of the floor. We'll spin them in a circle. They start with a box out. The offense runs to their transitional spots, and the defense has to pick them up. The big thing is slowing down the basketball and having the right players sprint back on defense. So I will pick a spot on the other end of the floor. One player slows down the ball. 4 players get back. I mean, it's the same type of drill that everybody does to work on transition defense, but we'll add some wrinkles in it, which I won't show clips of today, but you could add trap the rebound, or you could add one player slows the ball down, the second player stays up and forces a jump or takes away the next pass. So we mix those numbers up throughout the course of our practices as we evolve as a team to make things difficult. I know as an offensive-minded coach, a lot of times I'll make all 5 defense get back, touch the middle, so we can actually set up our secondary breaker. Because obviously, if the ball gets ahead of the defense, it's an initial transition break, which does happen in this drill. But so then we kind of load some rules in so that we can definitely dictate what we want them to get out of the drill. So with that being said, again, it's a 5-on-5 spin the wagon drill. It's a defensive transition, how to slow the ball down, how to speed the ball up, and you kind of build in what concepts that you would like to do to make your transition defense tougher. In this clip, we start them, and you'll see that we have some pretty quick players on offense. They get it. Okay, so one player is supposed to pick up the ball, so it's getting picked up right there. Outlet pass, supposed to touch a spot on the floor. Now they scramble and rotate to cover other players. In systems where you designate a player to guard a certain player, you probably want to do this differently. We tend to switch and try to switch back up when we can with our man-to-man defense. If you're a zone team, obviously you're going to get back and try to get back into your zone positions. So it's just a one singular clip on how we do this. Transition offense right there. And that would be our transition defensive drill. In this next live game clip, what we're going to show is a 21 deny after a made basket. The thing I want you to watch is how our players adjust to what they're doing in their press break after a made basket. They're communicating, they're talking who they have, and in game situations, communication is so important in getting players lined up. We do not train players to absolutely go to a certain spot because different teams present different challenges with different types of press breaks and personnel changes. So we really spend a lot of time emphasizing talking on the fly, getting things covered up. Now, in this situation, we forced them into making a tough choice by throwing a long pass, and our defense was able to rotate and create a disruption and a turnover because of the choices that we forced them into. So here's the long pass, got deflected, flipped it up, okay, and so we're going right into our transition offense. And again, kind of threw up a jump ball there, and we were fortunate enough to get that. The player she's going up against is a little bit taller, but again, that's a long pass, and and you got to mix that up. So again, that was just a quick clip of a 21 deny after a made basket. And based on the formation, if they put 3 players up, we call it a 31 deny. They had 2 players at half court, so it's still, we call it a 21, even though there's 4 players on the same side of the floor. A question I get a lot is we do a lot of pressing off of defensive rebounds, turnovers, or transition situations. And a big question is, how are we able to do that? And I guess we set up our practices to read what's going on, and it takes a lot of training and a lot of teaching to get them to understand what's actually going on the floor so that they can see what I'm seeing on the floor. And the big thing is, can you foul the ball? Can you get a situation where you can create predictability on how the offense wants to go? Sometimes they want to get it to their favorite point guard, so we can deny that to create some disruption there. Or just in a scramble situation, where we train our kids to be pretty good at scramble situations through our change drills, 5-on-5-on-5 drills, and any other transitional defensive type of drills. So I'm going to show a clip here that's going to show that we have a player going in and they get their shot blocked, but we immediately slap on our press from there. And the key is you don't want to give up layups while maximizing pressure. And when we can put 5 really fast kids on the floor, it's getting them to understand whose responsibilities are what. If you're close to the ball, you've got the ball. If you're in a fill position, you got to sprint back and get all the way back to the basket, and then others can fill in from there. But it takes a lot of communicating. So here's the penetration, block shot, she gets it. We're pressuring up right there. There's a jumper, okay, and we're rolling into position. Now the big key there is we disrupted. We didn't give up a transition layup. We created an opportunity for a turnover, even though a turnover didn't exist. But that player's right there communicating, and then you got the player sprinting to fill the backside. Now, teams that are really good in the transition, you definitely have to adjust accordingly and maybe get more people back. But the point is, you can do this, but it takes a lot of training to get that in. Here's how we set up our 5-on-5-on-5. You've got the X's on the top part of the board, you got the triangles at the bottom, and then you got the 5 in the middle. And I think the big key here is how you train your kids to do what. So if circles attack triangles and circles make the shot, triangles go right into a full court press. Circles got to break the press to attack the 5 X's. Nobody can cross half court unless if you have the basketball, your team has the basketball. If circle misses and triangles get the rebound, circles go right into our transitional press defense to make things tougher. And then whatever team crosses half court gets to attack the X team. Now, what this does is it creates a lot of scramble situations. It eliminates a lot of transition offense, so you have to focus on good half-court offense, good half-court defense, while you can also be aggressive because there's 5 extra defenders on the floor. A lot of times we'll set it up to where we'll play games to 7 or 10 by 1s and 2s, or we'll work on the defensive aspects by only giving points for defensive rebounds, turnovers, and those types of things. So set it up however you see best fit for your team. The nice thing about how we do things is we'll work the young kids with the old. It creates teachable moments. We'll have a coach take on each team, maybe mix in our defenses through the coaches and offenses through the coaches, or we'll do it through the players on the floor themselves. So we create a lot of communication opportunities for the kids and a lot of leadership opportunities to help them better on game night. Here's another clip of a missed shot, they get the rebound, and how we're slapping on our press. Notice how we pick up the ball. They want to get it to this ball handler, and we were able to create a jump situation. With this particular team, they were really worried about breaking the press, so they left extra players up, and that kind of eliminated the transition game, so we could be a little more aggressive on the misses. And it works both ways. Teams can be deliberate, and we got to handle it one way. And if teams are really aggressive, we got to make the adjustments. And in this situation, we were able to force a jump where we deflected a pass. The ball got back to them. But if they're a fast transition team, then you have to be able to adjust and get your players to understand that. So we train it both ways. Again, some teams prefer to play slow. Some teams prefer to play fast. And what we just like to do is, again, the key word is disruption. If we can disrupt things, we feel like that makes our defense that much better. And like I said before, when you have a lot of team speed like we've been blessed with, you create schemes that maximizes our ability to utilize that speed on the floor. The last clip I'm going to show you of this particular thing is another situation where we're going to press after a made basket. And in this clip, we're in a 13 deny because they bring up a third player. Okay, and so again, she dribbles fast, creates a jump and run right there, got deflected out of bounds. So again, just wanted you to see how this could look. A lot of times it's challenging to jump and run out of that formation. But we were able to do it because we were a little bit quicker than maybe some of the personnel they had on the floor at that particular point in time. So again, just a quick jump and run situation, just so you can see what it looks like on a quick jump. Here's a scenario that is always challenging is the super quick guards. In the upcoming clip that I'm going to show you, it's really hard. And again, you're not gonna win the battle every time. So that's why in your mind, you sometimes have to get out of your mind that it's going to be turnovers. It's how can you disrupt the other team's offense? And sometimes it's trying to make someone else bring it up. Sometimes it's speeding teams up. Sometimes it's trying to slow them down. And a lot of times it's a combination of all the above. So in this upcoming video clip, this coach used a great press breaking scheme where he's running his quick guard off of a screen. She's coming off quick. And we had a hard time staying with her at different points of the game. So what we did was we mixed up our looks, trying to create a little bit of confusion, get them to think out there a little bit in order for us to utilize an effective pressure. So shot goes in, trying to find the quick guard. She's right there, already has it. Of course, in this clip, we end up fouling. And again, when you start fouling in the press, you're not going to have a very successful night. You end up putting the team on the free throw line a lot. So we spent a lot of time training kids not to reach in, to keep good spacing between you and the guard so that they can't create contact with you while trying to get them to funnel. So again, just some things to think about if you're employing this system. If you're going to do a lot of reaching and body checking out front, there's going to be nights where there's going to be a lot of fouls and free throw shot, and you're going to end up with a lot of your quicker kids maybe not playing as much that night. So, just something to consider as you're thinking about putting this type of play in. In this next clip, I just want to emphasize giving your kids the opportunity to make choices. So like right here, we're on the ball, but she recognized right away that there was a pass that was within her range, and she just went and got it. So again, with our defensive scheme, we do a lot of read and reaction drills, and we emphasize read their intentions. Try to understand the predictable patterns that a lot of teams get when they are trying to break a press or even how they attack a defense. Everybody falls into some predictable patterns, and we try to read those and make them do something that they don't want to do or make them think. In that previous clip, the girl that was on the ball just, again, instead of just jamming up the ball, she spaced back a little bit to reduce the passing angle and was able to get her hands on a pass. So anytime you deflect a pass, anytime you make the offense make a decision that they had to react to quickly that they're not used to, just favors the defense. And those are the types of things that we really pride ourselves on in our defensive system. In this next clip, I want to again show how we handle a quick guard. She gets the ball way too easy, in my opinion. However, we do create some tough situations that she has to navigate. Now, they were able to get into their offense, but I just want you to pay attention to how we were able to disrupt on how most teams like to set up their offense. Again, she gets around pretty quick there. She's a very good guard. A jump, two players filling back, and again, back in the offense. And we were able to create disruption, and we're speeding up players that may not always like to play fast. Of course, there is a driving lane that opened up there. We had a player not rotate maybe to the right spot, but again, game speed action, that's going to happen. So we just have to try to minimize those mistakes. And again, the more we can minimize them being able to get into how they like to set up their offense, the more advantageous it is to our defense. And when you think about how you set up your own defenses, that's all you're trying to do too, is just make things tough so they have to truly earn every basket throughout the game. And that's exactly what happened there. The quick guard, she was very good. She was able to hang on to the basketball and get them into their offense, found the open player. But again, it disrupted their timing and rhythm that they like to have within their offense. In the next video clip, again, lightning quick guard. She's able to navigate our defense. They're trying to set a screen for her. And you'll see how our kids rotate and communicate the screening action. Again, we weren't necessarily trying to get a steal or a turnover here. We want to disrupt. And when you're able to disrupt, and we can dictate to the offense how we want them to play, it just makes it a lot harder to get what they want to do on offense, to get offensive flow. So the clip here, as you can see, she's got the ball. There's a screen. We're navigating those. Another player comes up, and there's a rotation from the backside because we created a predictable situation. Okay, so again, you have people rotating. Sometimes they rotate clockwise, sometimes counterclockwise. It really depends on the movements on the floor. But when you're trying to dribble through three players, and finding the open player can be very challenging because there's a lot going on with that clip. I'd like to thank you for watching this presentation of Organized Chaos by Newell Fonda heads basketball coach Dick Jungers, and there's my contact information if you have other questions. I just covered a few scenarios. I know we cover a lot more situations, but again, really it comes down to your creativity and understanding your personnel and making the most of what each kid in your program can do to make your team better. And when we're building our system, those are the conversations that I continually have with our players on what they bring to the table. We generally rotate 8 to 9 players in most games, and of course with foul trouble we might go 10, 11 deep. But again, we've been very blessed with, we've had a lot of kids that just really love their girls basketball. They put a lot of time into it. Put a lot of time into building their athletic ability, participating in track and other sports. Most of our kids are 4 and 5 sport athletes. They just love competition. So, and I know all schools and situations are built differently. I'm just kind of gave you a glimpse of what things look like from the inside of Newell Fonda. We run our practices very efficiently. I have great assistant coaches who understand the game. They have a great passion for basketball, and they put a lot of time into improving their game. I do know that I've evolved a lot over the years. I watch other coaches, other systems, just like what you're doing. And if I feel like it's something that can benefit our team and give us a better chance of winning on game night, obviously we'll put those things in. But I do know that creating a fast-paced, fun style to play that allows you to play more players has allowed us to build tremendous depth over the years. We'll play freshmen, sophomores with the juniors and seniors, and it just kind of keeps evolving over time. Our young kids, they follow these girls from the day that they walk into our school, and it's just a great family environment. And again, as a head coach, it's what you take ownership of to make yourself and your team as great as it can be. As I said before, if you would like to communicate or have some questions, feel free to email me. Putting these clips together was a lot of fun for me. And again, I just like to help other coaches evolve their game and finding success with what you love and what you're passionate about. But all of us can always increase and improve our knowledge base. I want to make sure you have a wonderful day, and thanks again for tuning into this broadcast.